In this video, I am going to show you how to do a couple of these conic section problems. I'll show you how to write the equation for this hyperbola right here, and I'll show you how to solve this system of equations, all right, that involves two conics. But almost more importantly, I'm going to show you how to type those answers into Microsoft Forms using their little interface. So this problem, the problem number one, is pretty easy. You see that this is a vertical hyperbola. Okay, so the most important thing is to identify what the center is. And the center appears to be right here at the point -2, 5. So the center is -2, 5. Notice how we write our work on the side of the document. When you guys take your actual test, this is what you will do. You'll scroll around in the test itself, looking at the questions, but off to the side, you will neatly number your work. Now, having said that, there's not a lot of work to show for problem number one. We know how the equation of a hyperbola goes. It's always going to be a fraction minus a fraction equals 1. We know this. All right, now, because this is vertical, that tells us that the y part goes first. So I'm going to have y, and so I'm looking at the 5, and so I will have y minus 5 squared. The x will go second, so because it's -2, I'm going to do x plus 2 squared. Now, in the y direction, I see that from the center, from the center to the vertex, that's a distance of 3. So that's why underneath the y term, I'm going to do 3 squared, I'm going to do 9. In the x direction, to the side of the box here, I see that it's 4 units. So that's why I'm going to put a 16 right here. So that is the equation. So that was pretty easy. Now I want to show you how to type that in to the interface. Now I already did this previously, so I had to switch over to a new window to show you how to do this. So if I click on here, all right, this pops up. To do a fraction, you want to use this button right here. So you don't use divided by. Use this button and make yourself a fraction. Really try not to touch the keys on your keyboard at all. Do everything using the stuff that you see here. Don't touch your keyboard on your computer at all. So here come my parentheses, and this is going to be y. So I'm doing y minus 5 squared over 9. Okay, so y minus 5. I'll use this little arrow to kind of scooch my way out of there. And I want it to be squared. Okay, I'll just click down here and I'll do 9. Okay, I think I'll just click over here and it's going to be minus. Time for another fraction. I'm going to need some parentheses. And I think this one was x plus 2. You guys know that my memory is bad. So x plus 2. I'm going to use this arrow to kind of get outside of the parentheses. And now it's squared. Let me just double check that. X plus 2 squared over 16. All right, so I'll just click down here and do the 16. I'm going to click over here and do equals 1. Notice the directions here that say don't put spaces in your answer. No matter what, do not touch the space bar on your computer's keyboard at any time. Anyway, so I'll just hit OK on that. So that's how you type in that answer. Now I'm going to show you how to solve this system, but I feel like I'm on a roll showing you how to type in answers into this interface. So I'm actually going to start with the answer. I already know, because I worked this out before, I already know that this is going to be the answer. So if the main thing you needed to see was how to type things in, I'm just going to skip to that part. Then I'll go back and actually solve it for you, for those of you who need that. So it's going to be some points. So -5, -3 is one of the answers. So I'm going to use my parentheses and do -5, comma, where is the comma? Wow, okay, I'm not seeing the comma, so I might have to use my computer keyboard for this. And that's what I'm going to do. I don't see the comma, so all right, that was the first time I had to touch the computer keyboard. So -5, comma, -3. I'm going to use this little arrow right here to get outside of the parentheses. Notice I did not put a space after the comma. I will not touch the space bar on my computer no matter what. So there are 2 more points coming. So the directions say to separate your coordinates with the word and. So I'm going to go ahead and write and right now. So obviously I have to use my keyboard to type and. Notice I did not put a space here. Just let it touch the parentheses. That's fine. Now here's my next parentheses. And okay, so my next point is going to be, I'm going to do -5 plus 2 radical 3. Okay, so I've got -5 plus 2 radical 3. All right, now I need to get out from under the radical so I can put the comma. You want to hit this arrow key to get out from under the radical, and I have to use my computer keyboard to type the comma. No spaces. And so I needed that, comma, -1. So I'm going to go ahead and put -1 now. And I'm going to use my arrow key to get to the outside of the parentheses. And I'm typing that there's one more point coming, so I'm going to type the word and again. No spaces. Notice the lack of spaces. Please, please, please. For the computer is going to be grading this automatically, and to grade it right, you can't put any spaces in here. It'll mess up everything. So this is actually a plus or minus. So I've done the plus. I'm just typing in the same point with a minus. So I'm going to do my -5 minus 2 radical 3. Again, before I put down the comma, I'm going to use my arrow key to get out of there. I'm using my computer keyboard for the comma, and I'm going to go straight into -1 without hitting the space bar. And I'll arrow my way over, and that is how you put your answer in using this interface. Okay, so this would be graded as correct. Notice no decimals are allowed. So not only am I not allowed to put any spaces in here, but for a problem like this, I don't want to see any decimals. There really shouldn't be any decimals anywhere on your test. There will be fractions, there will be radicals. Go ahead and reduce the radicals like I did. Don't leave it as radical 12. Go ahead and go to 2 radical 3. But if you put a decimal, it's going to be marked wrong. All right, so imagine this was the test and you've typed in all your answers, and we'll hit submit, and you should get a response like this to let you know that your response was submitted. All right, so if you only needed to see how to type your answers into the interface, you can stop the video now. If you need to see actually how to solve problem number 2, keep watching because that's what I'm about to do now. Okay, so here's how you actually solve it. All right, I'm going to zoom out, create a little bit more space for myself. Okay, in fact, I'm going to create a ton of space by zooming way out, putting a dot down here. Now I have like unlimited space. I love having unlimited space. Ironically, unlimited space is tight. Okay, problem number 2. All right, so we've got these two equations. We're going to have to do some kind of substitution on this. So I see that we've got x plus 5 squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to 16. And then we have 6 times y plus 3. I think I'll put like a line right here or something. So we have 6 times y plus 3 is equal to x plus 5 squared. All right, so far I've just recopied the problem over here so I can write on it. For a problem like this, when I do my substitution, it would not be easy to get a single variable by itself. So I'm looking for a chunk of the equation that is the same for both equations. All right, and so I see this. The x plus 5 squared is here, and the x plus 5 squared shows up again here. So because of that, I can take what x plus 5 squared is equal to and substitute it in to the other equation. So over here, x plus 5 squared is already by itself. It equals this. So I can take this and substitute it for x plus 5 squared in the other problem. So that's why I'm going to have 6y plus 3, okay, not squared. So I put that in instead of x plus 5 squared because they are equal. Then I'll just bring down the rest of the problem. Plus y minus 1 squared is equal to 16. At this point, I have all y's, so I should be able to solve this. All right, so I've got 6 times y plus 3, and then y minus 1 squared is just y minus 1 times y minus 1, and that equals 16. Distributive property, so I'll have 6y plus 18, and if I sort of double distribute this, okay, you know how to do that. So I'm going to get y squared minus 2y plus 1 is equal to 16. Combining my like terms, all right, y squared doesn't have any like terms, so I'll just bring that down. 6y minus 2y is 4y. Now I've got 18 plus 1, so that'll be 19, and that's equal to 16. Then I will subtract 16 from both sides. So that's going to give me y squared plus 4y plus 3 is equal to 0. This will factor quite easily. Y squared is y times y. 3 can only be 3 times 1. Everything is positive, so this is going to be a positive 3 and a positive 1. Using the zero product property, I will set y plus 3 equal to 0 and y plus 1 equal to 0. That means y is equal to negative 3 and y is equal to negative 1. Okay, great. So we have found the y values. Now we need to find the x values that go with them. All right, so I think I'll make a little chart over here to demonstrate what's going on. So these will be my x's and my y's. Okay, so let's start with a y value of negative 3. All right, so here I have a y value of negative 3. Let's see what happens. Okay, so if a y value is negative 3, I'm going to plug that into this side of the equation in order to find x. So that'll give me 6 times negative 3 plus 3 is equal to x plus 5 squared. Well, that's going to be 6 times 0 is equal to x plus 5 squared. So that's 0 is equal to x plus 5 squared. And if I take the square root of both sides, that's going to give me 0 is equal to x plus 5. And then if I subtract 5 from both sides, of course, I have negative 5 equals x. Okay, so when y is negative 3, then x is negative 5. All right, that is why one of my points was negative 5, comma, negative 3. That's where that point came from. All right, but we have this other y value. And you're going to see in a minute that this is actually going to give me 2 points. All right, but let's check it out. All right, so I'm just going to put a line right here. So now I'm doing a y value of negative 1. So I'm using the same equation, but I'm putting in a negative 1. So this will be 6 times negative 1 plus 3 is equal to x plus 5 squared. So this will be 6 times 2 is equal to x plus 5 squared. So that's 12 is equal to x plus 5 squared. All right, it is time to take the square root of both sides. Now this is very important. When you take the square root of both sides, don't forget that your solution will be plus or minus. Okay. So radical 12, maybe I should do this off to the side. Radical 12 is the square root of 4 times 3. But the square root of 4 is 2. So this will become a 2 on the outside of the radical. So radical 12 is 2 radical 3. Okay, so that means I have plus or minus 2 radical 3. And the square root of this makes the squarage go away, and I will just have x plus 5. When I subtract 5 from both sides to get x by itself, I'm going to actually put that 5 in the front of this. So that's going to give me negative 5 plus or minus 2 radical 3. Okay, now notice this is really two separate things. It's negative 5 plus 2 radical 3. So that's one x value, negative 5 plus 2 radical 3. And then it's also negative 5 minus 2 radical 3. That's another x value, negative 5 minus 2 radical 3. Okay. So when you record this, you should go ahead and record this as 3 separate points. So that's why looking back to what I just typed in, I don't know if they will actually let me. Response has already been submitted. Okay, it won't let me type it in again, but you should really type it in as 3 separate answers. So you should type this in as negative 5, negative 3, and negative 5 plus 2 radical 3, comma, negative 1, and negative 5 minus 2 radical 3, comma, negative 1. This is what you would type in. There are 3 solutions to this system. All right, that's it. That's how you do it.